of your speech, and you can call me out on being a liberal snowflake or whatever about my feelings, but then you, in the middle of your speech, I think this was hate speech, you made fun of transgenders. Well,
I made fun of one person who grabbed me by the back of the neck and threatened me with violence, to be fair.
I mean, yes, but also Caitlyn Jenner, and you seem to be making, I don't want, you were clearly making jokes at the expense of transgender people. So my question is, where do you draw the line between being a mensch and clearly offending people? Like, where do you draw the line?
Okay, so for me, if I coldly and clearly state a fact and you're offended by the fact, that's not me being responsible for offending you. That's me saying a fact and you being offended. As far as me making jokes about Zoe Tur, my general rule is that if somebody grabs me by the back of the neck and threatens me with violence on national television, I have the right to make fun of them. That's just as when I was at University of Wisconsin, if people are going to chant at me and yell at me, then I'm not going to treat them with courtesy because they are not deserving of courtesy. Courtesy is something that you earn by being courteous.
Okay, fine. I understand that, but it just seems a little bit hypocritical to brag about the fact that you openly humiliated someone on national television while also telling people to be mensches. I just think that's a little.
Well, I mean, let's put it this way: my belief is in mutually assured destruction. So if you're going to, if you attempt to again do me physical harm on national TV, then I'm not going to treat you with a level of respect that you have not earned. I mean, I'm treating you with respect, and we disagree, right? Because you're courteous. So thank you for that.
Why would you call it delusion?
Because Caitlyn Jenner, I'll call him Caitlyn Jenner.
No, it's her. You're not being polite to the pronouns. Because disrespectful.
Okay, forget about the disrespect. Facts don't care about your feelings. It turns out that every chromosome, every cell in Caitlyn Jenner's body is male with the exception of some of his sperm cells. It turns out that his brain structure is male.
You have a thing like Klinefelter's syndrome. So you don't know what you're talking about. You're not educated on genetics.
Would you like to discuss the genetics?
No. What are
your genetics?
So I'd stay away from the genetics and back to the brain scans.
You cut that out now, or you'll go home in an ambulance.
Yeah, that seems mildly inappropriate for a political discussion.
No, I know. Well, but wait, to be fair, but to be fair, you're actually being rude. And that's not fair.
I'm sorry, it's not rude to say that someone who's biologically a male is a male. Someone who's biologically male is a male.
But Mr. Shapiro, you knew very well that.
But okay,
is that a moral thing? If somebody wants to mutilate their body, that's their choice.
It's not mutilation, but can we just talk about
cutting off your testicles is mutilation.
Can we talk about
that's not actually what they do, though, right?
Okay, hold up.
They go inside out.
Well, but most transgender don't have the genital reassignment. Most of them are not.
Okay, Ben, can I finish real quick? Because this is important.
Well, I want to let you piggyback on something. May I let you do that?
Yes, you may.
Because
my blood is boiling.
I know, and I'm going to give you a little more fuel. This is now, because Ben is part of a lot of people that have various kinds of feelings about this. This is what Zoe's talking about. Here's Peter Berg, best known for producing Friday Night Lights. He posted this picture on Instagram with the caption, quote, "One man traded 2 legs for the freedom of the other to trade 2 balls for 2 boobs.
Yeah.
Guess which man made the cover of Vanity Fair? It was praised for his courage by President Obama and is to be honored with the Arthur Ashe Courage Award by ESPN." That's similar stuff you're reacting
to. First of all, of course, a wounded soldier deserves all the accolade and respect in the world. They save lives. Well, guess what? There's many different ways to save lives. I believe that Caitlyn Jenner bringing this conversation to the forefront is saving lives. And at the end of the day, can you look at the fact that more than 50% of transgender youth attempt suicide because of discrimination, because of shame? Does that try to alter the way that how you should project your thoughts? What if they're watching right now? What if there is a teen out watching right now that is struggling with who they are, living their truth?
Let's talk about some of the biological facts for 1 second.
No, I want you to answer me. What would you say to a teen right now that really believes 100%?
Allow me to answer your question.
I'm full of emotion right now because people die.
I've noticed.
Clearly, it doesn't bother you because you're sitting there stone-faced and cold-hearted.
Of course it bothers me when people commit suicide, which is one of the reasons I don't believe that transgender surgery is the solution, considering that the suicide rate after transgender surgery is precisely the same as the suicide rate before transgender surgery.
Yeah, because then technically they're not passing, and then they're open for more discrimination.
Okay, the transgender suicide rate is approximately 0.8 in every 100. The only comparable suicide rate in human history of which I am aware is Jews living under Austrian and German rule during World War II. To liken the treatment of transgenders in the United States or the Western world to Jews living under Nazi. No, I'm actually comparing apples to apples in terms of the suicide rate.
But I think if you can see what discrimination
why don't we look
does,
at actual solutions?
Well,
why is it
then
only
stop
society's
hating,
fault?
tolerate.
It's not. I'm happy to tolerate. Whatever people want to do is what they want to do. But the idea that the surgery itself is something to be glorified, to be reveled in, the mental illness.
I think if you can bring up the difficulty that Jewish people have faced because of hatred, then why can't you, as a human, as Dr. Maya Angelou would say, that I am human, so therefore nothing human can be alien to me? Why can't you take that position and understand based upon your history?
I don't hate anybody who has a mental illness and is trying to figure out how to fix that.
There might have been people who said...
I'm not going to liken the treatments of Jews under Nazis.
No, I think anytime a life is in trouble, we're all in trouble. We're all in trouble.
The reason I brought that up is as a comparison of the treatments of the two and saying that the suicide rate is similar. So therefore, if the circumstances of the two are different, and the
speaker, and have changed the minds of many with facts and reason. So my question for you is, have you ever had your mind changed on a topic through civil discourse? And if so, what are some of these instances which particularly stand out to you?
Sure. So the two that come to mind particularly, I would say that the issue of marijuana legalization, I've changed my mind on over time. Now, let me make clear that the experiences that changed my mind were not of the sort that you might think. I still think that smoking pot is a complete waste of time, kills brain cells, and is not a good idea as a human. But with all of that said, the data on the efficacy of government regulation of marijuana or criminalization of marijuana demonstrates that it's been basically a giant failure of a program. And so there I think that the data have changed my mind on that issue. Another area where I think that the data have changed my mind somewhat, but not completely, is the area, believe it or not, of global warming. Not that I say that global warming is entirely man-made or that the solution to it is cap and trade, but I think that the data stack up in favor of the idea that the climate is over time getting warmer, and also that man does have some sort of impact on it. Now that, again, doesn't state the solution. This is where it's really funny. There are a lot of folks on the left where I say, yeah, I think global warming is happening. I think that man's activity has something to do with it. And people on the left are like, you're a denier. I'm like, well, wait, what? I didn't deny anything. And they say, well, you're a denier because you don't want cap and trade, or because you don't want massive, burdensome government regulations. Right, because my preferred solution is technological advancement in this area, as well as investments into infrastructure in different areas of the country, because it turns out the climate has been changing pretty radically over time for the past several billion years, and that human population patterns have been changing for several million years. So that's that's where the disconnect is. But whenever people provide me data, I try to at least think through whether I think that that should impact my point of view.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks.
The only person in the room shorter than I am.
Mr. Shapiro, thank you so much for being here first and foremost, and also I'm a master's student at Price. Thank you for standing up for Professor Moore.
Absolutely.
Obviously, with the obviously, in light of everything that's going on at the moment, we all believe rape and sexual assault are heinous crimes. We all want rapists behind bars, but I feel that in this climate, logic, evidence, and data are kind of being lost in translation, and also there's a very pervasive you're with us or against us mentality that's really doing a lot more harm than good. So my question to you is, how can we best stand up for the importance of due process and the presumption of innocence while also doing what we can to support survivors?
Okay, so I think that there's actually a third question that I want to address that you didn't even ask. So I'll address the first two, and then there's a third one that I think is implicit in the first two. So when it comes to standing up for due process, the answer is that we actually have to stand up for it, even in cases where it makes us uncomfortable, or even where we believe that the person may be responsible for something bad, because once you lose due process for one, you lose due process for everybody, obviously. When it comes to standing up for sexual assault survivors, I think the idea that we ought to take everybody's first account with the respect it deserves means not dismissing, not downplaying, but it also means asking the proper questions in order to get at the truth. That doesn't mean intimidating people. It doesn't mean calling people liars without evidence that they're lying. It doesn't mean mocking them, obviously, God forbid. It doesn't mean doing any of those things. You know, I've throughout the Christine Blasey Ford thing, I keep saying over and over and over, I'm not calling her a liar. I'm not mocking her. I don't know if she's lying. I don't know if she's telling the truth. I don't know if she's misremembering. I don't know any of that stuff. All I know is that due process requires such and such to happen. Now, the real answer in the end to a lot of what's happening, and here's the really unpopular part with the left. The left destroyed traditional mores with regard to relations between the sexes. Destroyed them wholesale. So the original idea was that men were supposed to act with honor and chivalry in protecting women, and women were supposed to look for example, relationships just as men were. Sexual activity was supposed to be confined, this was at least the ideal, was supposed to be confined to committed relationships, particularly marriage. Not everybody lived up to that, but a huge number of people did. In fact, once people got pregnant, people basically got married. There's studies from the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s shows an awful lot of 7-month marriage babies, right? People who are sleeping together, getting pregnant, and then the couple gets married. When you don't teach men to protect women, you get men who will victimize women. And when you don't teach women that they ought to cherish men who are responsible and good, all you end up doing is incentivizing bad male behavior. The feminist movement was not wrong when they said men are acting like pigs. They were wrong when they said women also ought to act like pigs and that this is a solution to our problem. Because now what's happened is they got rid of all the traditional mores about how sex ought to be connected with love and ought to be connected with relationships. They got rid of all of that. It was just a bodily function now. Except when it comes to actual sexual assault, we treat that differently than any other bodily function.